everybody who works and has made it this far with us and helped in bringing this organization to where it is. I think all of us, as well as some of our beneficiaries in terms of the children who have been born with our treatments, I don't think a thank you would be enough, Mrs. Ramya Krishna. I think it's amazing that we have been managed to get you here. And I think it's so encouraging for all of us.
I'm honored. My
Honestly,
pleasure.
thank you so much. And like our CEO was also talking, I think it's a message that we want to give everybody, and that's the reason why we thought you would be the most appropriate person. A strong woman, and even the characters that you play, I'm sure, is a reflection of your own personality, and that comes across as being somebody who's very confident, got the way in the world, and doing what she loves best.
Usually very confident in front of the camera.
So, and all of us, all our peers and everybody, we gain a lot of strength when we see our icons and our celebrities actually showing that character and, giving us that kind of a push to say that, even we can achieve something. So thank you very much.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And,
Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you so much.
Can I start?
Please, yes.
మమ్మీ పాప అవ్వాలంటే ఓఎస్ఎస్ రండి అన్నారు. యూజువల్గా ఇంతకుముందు మమ్మీ పాప అవ్వాలంటే ఇట్స్ నాట్ పెళ్లి చేసుకోవాలి. సో మ్యారేజ్ అండ్ కిడ్స్ ఫెల్ట్ న్యాచురల్ దెన్. IVF has become so common today, and the taboo around it. Why has it become so common and the taboo around it?
So I think, previously, whenever we are talking about our older generations, like even in our own families, when we are really looking at our grandparents or even our parents, the quality of life that they had, in terms of having a balanced sleep, having a balanced diet, the right amount of exercise, I don't think they were surrounded by as much luxuries as we have. I'm very glad we have glass bottles here, but otherwise you would see everybody carrying plastic bottles.
Plastics.
Everything. And the smoke, like you really know, even in
and plastics do have an impact on the
they
hormonal.
They do have an impact. So
hormones.
all of these basically come under the category of estrogen, deriving chemicals. So these are the things which do pollute the atmosphere around us and, impact our gametes. As you know, sperm and eggs are very, very sensitive. And any kind of impact on the wrong can actually have a great deal of, effect in terms of fertility. So even though, we are right up there when we are talking about the population that India has, that population will not continue to grow like that unless we do something regarding fertility. So what's very alarming is that the fertility rate is coming down drastically. Particularly if we are talking about Telangana, where we are at the moment, for a community, for a society to actually develop and economically grow, you need to have at least a fertility rate of 2.1. And currently, most of the states in India, not just Telangana, most of the states in India are coming down to 1.8 and 1.9. So unless we do something about it, we are going to be reaching, the state that countries like Japan is having, wherein most of their communities, everybody is more geriatric. They have a huge aging population, and the youngsters who are supposed to drive the economy are less. So they are inviting others to come and, emigrate to Japan to get their economy going. And we shouldn't be reaching there.
Okay. My question was, why is Japan there now?
So that is because of them not wanting to have children.
Okay.
Nowadays, as you know, the generations, people don't want to marry. Even if they marry, they're pretty comfortable having just that relationship rather than furthering and building families. So all of this is making an impact in terms of the whole fabric of the society.
Yeah, true. So
I would like to see what your son is going to be doing. You have one son.
Yes.
You stopped with one.
Yeah.
See? My mother had
and
three.
I know quite a few, many of my age group have stopped with one, and the youngsters I meet don't even want to have any, no commitments, no responsibilities, and no children. So, yeah. Population and economy has an impact, then I'm worried.
Yes.
But otherwise, I'm happy that the population will at least come down.
But then the way it is coming down, I think
Yeah.
that's going to impact it in the next generations to come.
Yeah. My next question. Is there a scientific reason or a new trend? Have we spoken about it or yet to?
As in, you're talking about, is there any science behind why fertility is increasing? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, infertility.
So I think yes, in terms of again how much of we tend to have a lot of conditions which are getting more common. Again, it could be because of the lifestyle. You might have heard of PCOD, endometriosis, fibroids, and I think male factor is increasing a lot more than what it was when we were starting out in terms of our careers. So all of this, the incidence is rising.
Yeah.
So with all of these conditions that are rising, it is making an impact in terms of the number of people that are needing the treatments of fertility.
Do you think the cell phones and the cell phone radiation has an impact? Because I was told so.
In the sense, we still don't have concrete data on it, Mrs. Ramya Krishna, but yes, that is one of the things that we say, but we definitely tell the men not to keep their cell phones in their pockets,
Pockets, yeah.
and no laptops and things like that. So there are certain things that they have to imbibe in their own lives, everyday life, that, should hopefully not get them here.
Sleep, for that matter, is...
Definitely. I mean...
Because I can see my son, getting him to sleep on time is a tough job for me. So I think it's a issue with the generation.
Absolutely. So, when we're talking about fertility, the basis is a hormonal cycle.
Yeah.
And the hormones do get impacted with, again, all of these things. Your sleep, your diet, your exercise, the air that you're breathing, all of it affects it. So, definitely.
Are IVF kids healthy and normal? Genetic
so this is where, this myth is the main reason why we wanted to get our accomplished children here today, which, and when you really look at them and talk to them, the kind of intelligence and their enthusiasm and confidence comes right back at us. So this is one way that we wanted to ensure that people understand that IVF babies are not just healthy, they are thriving in whatever they are choosing to do. And, when you meet them in the next few minutes, you will also understand, the kind of impact this technology has made for families.
True. And also, when I was going through the details of your treatments, you also mentioned one which is not IVF, which is drug-free.
Yes. So again, we at Oasis, we prefer to be at the forefront when we are talking about science, and that is the reason why we chose the new tagline of being in the good hands of science. So our endeavor has been to make the treatments as affordable as possible, as accessible as possible to everybody. So obviously IVF, with the injections that are required and the tediousness that is involved in the process, IVM is a separate treatment which is not available. I mean, Oasis is the only organization in our country and the third in the world wherein this treatment is offered to couples, a specific group of people. It is not for everybody. It's a specific group of people who have PCOD who can sort of, take on this treatment called IVM, which has almost no drugs. And, the success rate may not be like IVF, but it is right up there, up to around 35 to 40%.
Okay.
So this is for that specific group of people that we offer it to.
Okay. So you have more to say? Okay. ఇంతవరకు మాట్లాడింది
వాళ్ళు ట్రాన్స్లేట్ చేసుకుంటారు.
సరే, మీ క్లినిక్ చూస్ చేసే దానికి కీ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ ఏమవుతూ ఉంటుంది?
The key, I think the soul of Oasis is our doctors, and I've been fortunate to have a few of them with me today. But there are more who have actually strengthened this organization. And if we are talking about results, if we are talking about science, if we are talking about being able to give this kind of treatment to the people, it is purely our doctors. So the commitment their interest in learning, developing, teaching, training, I think has been the core strength of Oasis. And I think it's their job. I mean, I'm sitting here taking the glory with you, but it's entirely them who actually...
సో వాళ్ళలో ఏంటది అంత యూనిక్ ఫ్యాక్టర్ దట్ యునో?
కరెక్ట్. సో డాక్టర్స్ చాలామంది ఉన్నారు,
అవును,
బట్ ద డాక్టర్ టు హ్యావ్ దట్ కమిట్మెంట్, యునో. ఫర్టిలిటీలో ఏంటంటే వన్ ఆస్పెక్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఫర్టిలిటీ ఈజ్ వెరీ డిస్టర్బింగ్. ఏంటంటే చాలామంది దే స్పెండ్ అ లాట్ ఆఫ్ మనీ, మిస్సెస్ రమ్యకృష్ణ, అండ్ సమ్ ఆఫ్ దెమ్ ఈవెన్ యూటిలైజ్ దేర్ ఓన్ యునో wealth that has been coming for generational just to go for this treatment, and we cannot give them 100%. The success rate of IVF is around 45 to 50%. Because of the technology that we use, we have reached a success
70%
rate.
I
Yes.
heard that is.
So you know that how do we get there? Again, it's the commitment. So how much are these people really, you know, thinking about? It's never a factory setting. Individualization of the couple that is there in front of you. What is right for them?
Yeah.
What are the medications that should be given? What is the treatment? Hand holding them through the treatment, because it's so emotionally taxing as well, not just financially.
Yes.
But you know, the kind of empathy that the doctors shows, the kind of knowledge that they have, which backs their treatment schedule.
Empathy is something which
is extremely important, and you can't teach that.
Yeah.
You know, that is something that they have to learn on their own. So, you know, having the backing and the interest in knowledge, techniques, what is going on in research, all of that I think makes them very special, and Oasis is very special.
I think that's all the questions I have for you.
I'm glad. I don't know whether there's something...
Any other questions you like? Adi Telugulo adali.
We can take a few questions from the audience. Okay, maybe I'll have a go. Yesterday was...
I have somebody there at the back who wants to have a word.
Can we give him mic?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. First of all, thanks to Durgarao garu. Ma'am, మాకు జర్నీ స్టార్ట్ అయిన తర్వాత మళ్ళీ ఇంకొక జర్నీ స్టార్ట్ అయింది కిడ్స్ తోటి. సో థ్యాంక్స్ ఫర్ మేకింగ్ అనదర్ జర్నీ ఫర్ అస్. క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటిదంటే, రమ్య గారు వచ్చారు, ఓకే, ఆవిడ జపాన్ మీద క్వశ్చన్, ప్రాబబ్లీ నాకు కూడా అదే డౌట్ అనమాట. ఓవర్ కపుల్ ఆఫ్ మంత్స్ వీ హ్యావ్ బీన్ హియరింగ్ దట్ జపాన్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ త్రూ దిస్ ఎకనామిక్ టర్మాయిల్ అండ్ ఇట్ మే సీ ఇట్. అండ్ today, if Oasis has to make sure that this kind of education is going, what Oasis is doing to spread the education awareness, because you're promoting your company, that's really great. We see the hoardings here in Vijayawada and other places, but what education would you like to give, especially for the people in IT sector like me?
So you're absolutely right, doctor.
ఆయన అడిగేది ఏంటంటే ఎలా ఐవీఎఫ్కి రాకుండా to you know, how not to, and how to make yourselves healthy otherwise.
One is how not to, definitely it has the question. The other one is if at all, because there are many apprehensions that the people have. Many apprehensions. There are fear factors and others.
I'm so glad you asked this question, because in recent times, at least in the last 3 or 4 months, me and Dr. Krishna, we've been thinking about this ourselves. ఈ సిచ్యువేషన్ రాకుండా మన ఫర్టిలిటీ రేట్ 1.8 అంటున్నాం, వెన్ ఇట్ షుడ్ బి 2.1. మనం ఏం చేయాలి? ఎస్, యూఆర్ అబ్సల్యూట్లీ రైట్, బిజినెస్ ఇస్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ దట్ ఇస్ ఫైన్, బట్ ఆర్ contribution to society, our contribution to the country, what should it be, is where we were looking at. And your first point is apt. It is education. It is letting the people know what is affecting them. How do they reduce that effect on, not just on fertility, it's just on their general health also. How many 20s and 30 years old do I see who go in to have cardiac, infarction? It's so common nowadays. Why is that? Again, that's also a lifestyle disease. So fertility now is becoming a lifestyle disease as well. Adi oka point. And there are so many factors in fertility which are also preventable. People don't know that. స్కూల్స్లో అంటారా, సెక్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అందరికీ చెప్తారు. ఎంతమందికి ఎడ్యుకేషన్ చెప్తున్నారు ఇన్ టర్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ యువర్ రీప్రొడక్టివ్ హెల్త్? మీరు ఏం చేయాలి, వాట్ ఈజ్ ఇట్ దట్ యూ షుడ్ డూ, మీకు ఏ కండిషన్ ఉంటే మీరు ఏం జాగ్రత్తలు తీసుకోవాలి. వ్యాక్సిన్స్ ఇచ్చేస్తున్నావు సర్వైకల్ క్యాన్సర్కి, విచ్ ఇస్ అబ్సల్యూట్లీ ఫైన్. దెన్ దేర్ ఆర్ సో మెనీ అదర్ థింగ్స్ దట్ వీ కెన్ స్టిల్ డూ. How do we do that? We have to start from the grassroots. We have to let the schools know. We have to let colleges know. We have to let companies like yours know in terms of what your lifestyle is going to have an impact in terms of building families. So yes, definitely our thought and process, and we are actually taking steps to do that. What are we doing currently? We are training gynecologists because they are within our circle. So we train gynecologists. We tell them, before, when you see an adolescent, first వాళ్ళు ఏమంటారు, they go to the gynecologist. ఈ ప్రాబ్లం ఉంది, painful periods అంటారా, bleeding heavy అంటారా. What is it? Based on those diagnoses, that information మీరు వాళ్ళకి ఏమి ఇవ్వచ్చు, so that they don't end up having problems in the future. So we currently do that anyway. We train gynecologists. We also go into the ASHA workers in our various districts, give them the information so that that is passed across. That is something that we are doing. But we want to take more measures towards that and probably go to where policies can be made. Right now we have to reach that stage where things have to make a difference in a much more larger scale. And we hope to do something there.
Thank you. Thanks for your question. And Sir's daughter is the youngest winner of our first scholarship today. So she will come up on stage soon. Yeah. Thank you. Any other question?
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, please, Abhishek.
So hello ma'am. Thank you for this insightful session. I am from Bangalore. My name is Abhishek Vyas. And मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि जो इंडियन मैन है उनमें इनफर्टिलिटी को लेके बहुत टैबू होता है, तो वो कैसे हैंडल किया जाए सोसाइटी के प्रेशर को देखते हुए?
तो ये टैबू आप जो बोल रहे हैं वो सही बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन ये बात भी है कि उनको एक्सेप्ट करना मुश्किल हो जाता है कि प्रॉब्लम है. पहली बात तो उनको ये समझना चाहिए कि इनके जो लाइफस्टाइल है, ये जो आप स्मोकिंग करते हो, ड्रिंकिंग करते हो, बिंज ड्रिंकिंग करते हो, रिक्रिएशनल ड्रग्स होता है, ये सब सोसाइटी में आ चुका है. इट्स रूटेड इन आवर सोसाइटी. इट्स उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या है वो आप नहीं जानते हो. आप जिम जा रहे हो, स्टीरॉइड्स ले रहे हो, स्टीरॉइड्स की वजह से स्पर्म क्या हो रहा है वो नहीं जानते हो. तो जब आप इतना कर रहे हो लेकिन उसका इफेक्ट आप नहीं जानते हो, सो दैट इज़ वेयर एजुकेशन, लाइक आई वाज टेलिंग द डॉग, इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि आपका जो लाइफस्टाइल है, आपके जो हैबिट्स हैं, उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या हो रहा है.
तो बेटर लाइफस्टाइल के लिए क्या इंप्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं, क्या चीज़ें कर सकते हैं?
पहली बात तो डेफिनेटली नो स्मोकिंग, डेफिनेटली नो रिक्रिएशनल ड्रग्स, गुड स्लीप, good appetite and good diet,
exercise
and amount of exercise. Because I don't do it, I kept that last. So good amount of exercise.
आज एक इंटरव्यू देख रहा था, उसमें एक बंदा बोल रहा था कि एक सांप को देखो तो वो 200 साल तक जिंदा रहता है, और एक घोड़ा अगर दौड़ता है तो 20 ईयर तक जिंदा रहता है.
Correct.
बट इंसान अगर एक्सरसाइज नहीं भी करेगा तो भी वो अच्छा
घोड़ा
जिंदा
क्या
रहेगा.
खाता है? घोड़ा क्या
घास
खाता है? घास खाता है. हम क्या खा रहे हैं? So the kind of diet that you have, and घोड़ा most of the time if you leave them in their natural environment, they're in a much better environment than what we are.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for.
We have room for one last question from the audience. Yes, madam.
I would like to know which section of the people do you find this more common?
We are finding more of the, I would say, the educated, the middle class people having much more of a problem because, the lifestyle that they have been leading and what they aspire to is something which is not right for them. Like I said, the husband comes home, the wife is going to work.
Can stress also be a
Absolutely,
part of stress?
absolutely.
Stress is
But then stress is how you handle it. Everybody has stress. You ask the child who's going to school, even that child has stress. So it's how you are handling it that makes a difference. And I think that's what is more important than saying stress makes a difference. Yes, it does. But how are you handling it to enable yourself to be better?
Yeah.
Yes, madam.
Hello, ma'am. I have a question for Ramya Garu. So, ma'am, how do you manage to maintain work-life balance? And I think in your field, you must be also traveling a lot. So, and there must be a lot of stress also associated with so much traveling and working at odd hours. So, how do you manage all that stress? Can you give tips to us?
I don't let myself get stressed. And I do what I need to do to avoid getting stressed because I know it is not good for me. And స్ట్రెస్ రోజు జరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది. దాంట్ నుంచి మనల్ని ఎలా కాపాడుకోవాలో మనం అర్థం చేసుకుంటేనే మనం చివరి దాకా కొంచెం హెల్తీగా ఉండొచ్చు. బికాస్ స్ట్రెస్ రాకూడదు అనుకోలేము, ఏ రోజు ఏమవుతుందో తెలియదు. మనల్ని దాని నుంచి హౌ టు ప్రొటెక్ట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ ఇస్ వాట్ ఐ వర్క్ ఆన్. ఐఎమ్ స్టిల్ వర్కింగ్ ఆన్ ఇట్.
Last question, Dr. Durga. I'm taking the liberty to ask this question. We've all seen in India there is this whole stress on family planning, right? Hum do, hamare do, and various touch points. People told you that in India we have to actually control our population. Now we see it's a 180-degree flip, right? Where in many places the fertility rate has dropped below 2.1, and for large parts of the country that are relevant, right, I think it is really between 1.6 to 1.8. So what do you think is the right time for a couple, or maybe even as an individual, even before you are a couple, to really take some steps to improve your fertility so that you don't face problems going forward?
So I think it's very easy to sit in an armchair and start, advising couples, you need to do this and that. Because the things that they are considering in their life before they're having a children is obviously to have a stable job and to have a stable income so that they can give the right, environment for the child to thrive in. So that is absolutely fine. And that, that goalpost is always something that keeps changing. You reach 30, you'll say, 2 more years, I'll get a promotion and then I'll do better, So what our suggestion is, yes, in terms of when you want to have a child, that can be, sort of sorted. But what you need to know is, where are you currently in your life? What is your reproductive health like? Get an assessment done of that. We are not asking you to have a child immediately at our behest, but at least understand where your reproductive health is. And there are so many measures that you can take so that you don't reach a stage of, requiring deep fertility treatments or donor or things like that. So we have something called as fertility preservation. Young women nowadays are coming forward to freeze their eggs. And there are quite a lot of your colleagues as well, who have frozen eggs so that they can have children later. So there are so many options, not just for women, but for men as well. So I think understanding, and that's where the education comes in, which we were talking earlier, is understanding what are your options. Look at that. What is your reproductive health? Take precautions and reach to a stage of not coming for IVF.
Sorry to interrupt. Intakamundu I was asking you also about women hitting puberty quite early in their
puberty is
time.
coming much earlier. You're right.
What is your advice to the youngsters of today?
Again, youngsters of today, I think, when you really look at their general health, even in my own family, we have to stop the kids from really binging on fast food, the kind of unhealthy diet. How much ever you show them pictures of noodles with, maggots in them, next day, they will still go back and eat the same thing. So yes. I think the education has to start from the parents. The parents first need to be educated as to how do you bring up your children? What is the environment? What is the food that you're giving them? What is the education that you're giving them?
Including my son, parents varaku we just can do our bit. Kani for them to really understand what to do, the awareness వచ్చి వాళ్ళ దగ్గర నుంచి రావాలి.
So that's where school and
ఆర్డర్
college
చేస్తే స్విగ్గీ నుంచి మిడ్ నైట్ డిసర్ట్, మిడ్ నైట్ ఐస్ క్రీమ్ ఇలా అంతా ఆర్డర్ చేస్తూ తింటూ ఉంటే ఎలా ఎప్పుడు అవేర్నెస్ వస్తుంది? ఇట్స్ మై పర్సనల్ ప్రాబ్లమ్.
No, which is a problem for a lot of us.
Youngsters, yes, it is. Because everything is so easily available. Correct. And
so
quite
I
addictive
think
also.
That's why I said we have got so used to the luxuries around us that we are not seeing the impact it's making in our life.
True.
I have one last question. I'm really sorry to interrupt, but my question is to Ms. Ramya. The people in my generation right now, like for me instance, we don't want to have kids. We are scared to death when it comes to responsibilities. And I have heard from multiple sources of mine that you are an amazing mother. You have a son and you share a bond like no other. You are best friends. So what about motherhood would you really want today's young generation to, perceive and, understand and not be scared of responsibility? So what are your 2 cents on that?
Do you want me to address not to about not having responsibility and not having
Not at all.
children.
Just
But
that how, like,
how to be a good
yeah,
mother.
Yes. Like,
How to be
why?
a good
Yeah.
it's each to their own. ఈ రోజుల్లో కంట్రోల్ చేసేది అనేది తగ్గించాలి. వాళ్ళ ఫ్రీడమ్ని వాళ్ళకి ఇచ్చి వాళ్ళ రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీస్ని వాళ్ళకి అర్థం చేపించాలి. సో నాట్ టు టేక్ ద ఫ్రీడమ్ అవే ఫ్రమ్ దెమ్, which would actually get you into a bigger problem. Give them the freedom and let them know their responsibilities, and everything will fall into place is what I think.
Thank you. We have one last question.
Hello, I'm Dr. Madhvi. My question is, you were saying about women freezing their eggs for future. Practically, when my embryos were frozen, second attempt was not successful. So how successful the woman will be if she if she chooses to freeze her ovum?
So there is a very clear algorithm that we follow based on what your reserve is, how many eggs you have, and most importantly, what your age is.
Okay,
You're able to get at least a 70% success rate
70%.
based on how many eggs we freeze, depending on
Does
your
it
age.
depend on the age where she has frozen?
Yes. That is why we said you want to have a child at 35, fine, but at least freeze your eggs when you're in your late 20s or early 30s. Don't leave it till 37 to then decide of utilizing a 37-year-old egg. Utilize your own eggs, but when you were 29.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.